had to hide underneath the lifeless body of my classmate to survive. And I want the future president to understand that nobody should ever go through what I went through, and Black youth shouldn't have to deal with gun violence on a day-to-day basis. Dear future president, my name is Alea Eastman and I am a Parkland survivor and racial equity activist. I wish the president would understand that Black youth are tired of being impacted by gun violence. I lost my uncle to gun violence in Brooklyn, New York. My uncle was only 18 when he was gunned down. And I also survived the 2018 Parkland shooting at my high school. In my opinion, I think the future president should care about gun violence prevention because gun violence is the leading cause of death for Black youth, as well as police violence because police violence disproportionately impacts communities of color. That includes Black and brown youth. Although it has been nearly 3 years since the shooting at my high school, it is still something that I have to deal with every day. Suffering from PTSD, depression, anxiety, and insomnia that came from the shooting is something that I just have to learn how to deal with because it is now my new normal. I got involved with gun violence prevention after surviving the shooting at my high school in 2018. And I really got involved because I saw that the movement for gun violence prevention wasn't intersectional and it wasn't addressing the gun violence that happens in communities of color. And I wanted to make sure that I was sharing my platform with those that look like me. And I also knew that my story could also save the lives of those that could possibly be impacted by another school shooting. I want the future president to understand that America has a problem with guns. This is not something that we see in a lot of different countries. It's uniquely an American issue. We have more guns in this country than we do of people, and I hope that the future president understands that is an issue. I want the future president to understand that although mass shootings are consistently talked about because they get the attention of media, Black and brown families are disproportionately impacted by gun violence. Again, they see gun violence every day in their communities and they're consistently impacted. And I want the future president to understand that this is where we need to start to solve this issue of gun violence, making sure that these communities are getting the proper resources to deal with the issue and to combat gun violence in their communities. If I had the power to create legislation right now to prevent gun violence, the number one on my list would be making sure that we would have money given to grassroots organizations that stop gun violence at the root in marginalized communities of color, because we know a lot of grassroots organizations do the work that our Congress members don't do, and they stop the violence before it starts, but they don't have the money to continue this work. So I'd make sure I would have legislation put aside to make sure that these organizations have the money to continue doing the work.